Money. That is what we are talking about today, because I get it. As a student, all of a sudden, for the majority of teenagers, you are now in charge of paying for gas, extracurriculars, dates, your own food. I mean, the list can go on and on and on about the expenses that you are now in charge of. And, just throw on top of that you need to be thinking about and saving for college. How are you supposed to do it? Well, today I'm going to share with you my best personal finance tips for teenagers to help you navigate this hard time where maybe it's your first time with a job and some steady income, or maybe you're still trying to figure out how to manage your money and what you should be doing with your money to maximize results. But I've got some tips for you that I think will radically change the way that you view money and the way that you look at your personal finance. So I'm Abby J. I'm a life coach, I'm a public speaker, and for the best tips on adulting and personal development, be sure to hit that subscribe button to my channel, AJ Life Hacks. And while you're there, be sure to hit that little bell so that you're notified when I post a video, because trust me, you do not want to miss a single video on helping you through school and onwards to your career. So without further ado, let's continue to talk about personal finance, saving for college, and how you can do that with probably less than a part-time job. Money can be really tricky regardless of your age, and it's something that I'm pretty fanatical about because thankfully I learned some awesome money principles at a young age thanks to some watching other people deal with money, good and bad, and also reading some books. So that's where a lot of these tips come from, but also some of these tips are coming from pure experience. When I was in high school, I never had a steady, regular job. I had probably less than part-time hours working, and the majority of the money that I earned was in the summer with family odds and ends jobs, maybe cleaning offices. So I've been there and I know what it's like to not have a lot of money and have a lot of places it needs to go. And so my first tip for you in dealing with that situation is to actually sit down and think and ask yourself these questions. Where is my money coming from? How much money do I need? And how much money do I currently get in about a month? I found that that's a really good period of time to look at and say, well, typically I'm earning this much by doing extra chores, mowing the lawn, or helping out at, my aunt had a cafe, so I would work and waitress there sometimes, but it was never steady. That might be the case for you, or maybe you're one of those amazing all-stars that has, a steady, regular job. Please take this time, pause this video, and write down what you're doing for your money, how much you're making, and how much you need in a month. And now that you've got that, right, you've taken the time, you paused, you thought about that, you can move on to step number 2, which is to figure out a budget. Now, yes, I'm sure you know what a budget is. I'm sure you know how to use one, but are you using one? Probably not, right? And the secret that I found with budgeting is to just find one that works for you. For me, it's an Excel spreadsheet that I break out monthly. Maybe it's pen and paper for you. Maybe it's printing off a template online. The reason that sometimes a template's really good is because a lot of times as teenagers, we don't think about all of the expenses that happen to be in our life, right? We're like, oh, okay, I spend this much on eating out and I spend this much on my food and gas, and that's about it. But are you thinking about maybe your cell phone bill, insurance, dates, dances, events, holidays, birthdays coming up? I mean, just random stuff can take your money away, and that's why a budget is so critical. I've actually done a lot of videos on money, and so I talk about a budget in every single one. And it's because it's the fundamental step of getting your personal finances in order. And so find a system that works for you. I'll share with you a little bit of like what mine looks like, but just find something that works for you. And I'll link down below for you. I'll do some homework, find some budgeting systems that I think are really great for teenagers, and I'll link those for you below because this is something you need to take seriously. And once you find that system that works, you need to actually fill it out and take the time and say, you know what, I'm gonna spend only $20 a month eating out, right? Or and the rest of the time I'm gonna go home for lunch, or I'm going to pack a lunch. And it's kind of hard to limit yourself, especially when maybe this is your first time with some free extra cash and you're like, I love going to the mall after school every day and I just buy what I want to buy. Take the self-discipline that it requires to put together a budget and say, if I spend this much money, I'll have this much, or I'll only have to work this much. You can start to play with the numbers. And that's why a budget's fun, is you can say, hey, if I spend, $20 less, that's 2 hours less that I have to work at McDonald's or blah, 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 right? So start to play with the numbers and find some that really feel good for you. And do not forget, and it's actually step number 3, to pay yourself first. Now, paying yourself first means that you take out a certain amount of money into savings first, regardless of that new outfit that you want to buy, regardless of prom coming up. You, without a doubt, always put out some money to pay yourself first, and you set that aside. This is the golden, magical rule that will help you save for college. Like I mentioned, I worked in high school, but it was never even part-time. I cleaned offices, I waitressed a little, mostly during the summer. Sometimes I'd earn extra money by helping my dad with his business, but I was able to save enough to pay for my college and also use the help of scholarships. I couldn't afford it all, but I had to use scholarships and I had to continue to work, but I never took out a loan. I never had to work crazy hours in college because of what I was able to save. And it might seem so small right now, but that savings is going to save your life later on. Trust me, you will always be so grateful that you set aside some money for yourself. And set it aside. A lot of people counsel to not look at that bank account or to look at that envelope of money and just don't think about it. It's gone. Pretend you're paying somebody. And what's awesome, you're paying your future self. Now, let's talk about step number 4, which is probably my favorite step, which is refuse to pay full price. Now, if you've been a fan of my channel for a while, you know that I am avid about garage selling and repurposing. I just think it is the coolest thing that's since sliced bread. I love, marketplace and websites where you can go consignment stores. Oh, ladies, all my clothes come from a consignment store and I love it. And guess what? When I am done with a fashion, it doesn't fit anymore, or maybe it's not my thing anymore and I kind of regret buying it, I take it and I consign it. And either you can just straight up get money for it when that's sold, or you can turn around and use that money to buy more clothes. Now, that might seem well, you're just spending more money. Well, if that's the only money that you spend on clothes, think about all that you will save. So, some ideas for you in high school. Use coupons on dates. I know that sometimes that can be embarrassing. Just make it really fun. I remember my mom sending me with a coupon book and I'd be like, hey, listen, I've got these 3 ice cream places. Which one do you want to go to? And it just made it fun and it made their date feel more comfortable because have you ever been on that date where they're just dropping tons and tons and tons of money and they're not even somebody that you're really into? It's just awkward. And so I've just found that people are so cool about coupons. So that old oh, I can't believe they're couponing, that's gone. So coupon, go to consignment stores. If you actually save up cash to buy some bigger purchases, if you ask the person and say, hey, can I get a discount if I pay you in full in cash? 99% of the time they're going to say yes, just because you ask. So do not be afraid to ask for discounts. Don't be afraid to look to different sources than you normally would. all the furniture you see behind me, not one of those things was purchased in a store. I either bought them secondhand or, got them from a friend and neighbor and redid them or refurbished them or something else. So get creative and save that money. You have worked so hard for it. Do not give it up easily. Now, before I talk about my last step, because I have to cap it somewhere. I could talk about personal finances forever and ever and ever and ever. But if you want a little bit more, I have a video called How to Save Money Even When You're Broke. And I go into a little bit more depth, especially about that last tip that we just talked about. But I think it might be really helpful for you, even though this one's kind of targeted towards teens and younger audiences. Money principles are money principles. So please check that one out. Okay, let me give you that last tip, which is to study money. A lot of teenagers that I talk to when I give them this tip or advice and say, have you read, The Richest Man in Babylon? Have you read Dave Ramsey? Have you read all these books? Have you read, these? And they're like, no, those are for adults. Ugh, why would I read those? Those look hard. And you're just like, oh my goodness, you have no idea the treasure that you are throwing away by not studying money. And the younger you start, the better off you are. Because these books are going to teach you how to push your dollar further. They're going to teach you, what to do with your money to help it grow. And they're going to also help you understand the power that you have to manage your money. So many teens feel like money is kind of out of their control, but these books are going to help you even further your personal finance savvy and learning what to do, and saving for college is going to be a breeze. I remember learning at a very young age, probably a tip of junior high into high school, when I really started to read some of these books, and it radically changed my life. And I can say that in all honesty because I'm reaping the benefits now. I was able to graduate college debt free and then right out of college immediately buy my first home. And I own all my cars, I own everything you see. And so it's something that will pay off, and it might take a little bit of discipline now to put in the time to read, to save, right? But studying money and to learn how to value money will make all the difference in the whole world. So I'm gonna link down below some of my very, very, very favorite money books that I think will just radically change your life if you will really study them and learn from them. Because I know that by watching this video, you're somebody that's serious about your future. And I want to make sure that you have the best tools possible. So be sure to check out some of those other videos that I've done on money. I'll also link some videos on, setting goals, some of my high school themed videos that might be able to help you out in some of the other areas of your life. So be sure to check those out, and I cannot wait to see you in some of those other videos. Before you leave this one, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet, so I can see you in the next one. So Abby J, out.